Welcome, welcome. It is Monday, 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 Monday. Welcome, jump online. This light is not doing me justice, but we're gonna make it work. I am actually excited. We're gonna test out this kind of mix and match Monday. I was just reading back through, it talked about doing something with creepy crescents. Actually, let me wait for a few of you guys to jump on before I jump into it. I kind of just get so excited that I just kind of jump right into the meat of things, but I see a few of you still jumping on. So we'll give it a moment and I will make sure I can see your chat. Okay. Oh, look, just a little thumbs up. Hello, Julie, Janet, Linda. Linda, you're traveling right now. Are you on the road? Or are you guys done for the day? I guess it's evening. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think hopefully a few of you guys, more of you have jumped on. And if you're catching the replay, of course, say hi in the chats as well. I appreciate it. Makes me feel not so alone. And yeah, okay, so mix and match Monday. All right. Like I said, we're going to test this out. You know, I know we're about to come into the busy holiday season, so we'll see how things go. If not, we'll pick it back up at the new year. And honestly, your guys' feedback is going to tell me a lot what I should do. I'll probably throw out like a little survey or something, so no worries. But either way, mix and match Monday. I was looking at the description that the team put up and we were going to kind of do creepy crescents and like this Halloween one. But then I was like, you know what? I actually did that little video over on our Facebook page and I think it got uploaded to YouTube. So there's another example of what we're going to kind of reinforce and go over again in this mix and match Monday. I decided to do this one because we have this amazing how to mix and match pattern paper. And this guide is free. So this is a guide that we offer. It's just basically something I actually put together outlining the formula, so to speak, that we've kind of built over the years as we really explored our paper stash and what types of patterns we often find in our paper stash. This is by far, over all the years of Kiwi, which, 15 years, is one of the besides like, how are you, so here's a few questions. How are you doing it? Which is the play to create method. How are you creating your pages? How do you decide what pattern papers to use? And then photos. I'm working on another great course. I don't know if it's going to be a course or a guide yet, tell you the truth, talking about more in depth about photo placement because, photos is a big part of scrapbooking, right? And that variable changes every time we scrapbook. So that's probably the third question I get often. And so lately on my spare time, I've been working on this other side thing. I gave a little bit of a insight into it. I just kind of threw it up there just because it was so heavy on my mind in the Picture Perfect event for club members. That's an exclusive event for club members. And we kind of talked about it. So if you have not seen that specific event, you're just going to go under the Kiwi Club space here in the Circle community and then go under replays. And then under replays, you'll find the latest event. So it should be right there basically at the top because it's the most recent. Okay, so going back to the second question we get a lot is, how do you choose which papers, right? You guys are probably so familiar with, maybe, if you're not, we have these YouTube videos. They're pretty old, and I go through, there's actually one video where I borrowed my neighbor's paper stash and I showed the process that I did with my own paper stash. I didn't record it when I did it personally with my own paper stash, but I went through the same process and kind of broke down how to kind of separate your papers by colors, color palettes, especially the sheets that you probably have in your paper stash that are like one-off sheets, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but definitely I bought that phase where I just bought like these random single sheets and, I was like, they'll just magically come together. And then of course, paper kits and collections became more a part of the development of paper and manufacturing of it. And yet still inside of that, you can still struggle with how to mix pattern paper sometimes. So I guess where I'm going to ask is, how many of you guys are familiar with this formula? And ultimately why I decided to do this Mix and Match Monday, to really articulate good examples of this mix and match pattern paper formula that we share in this guide, is because repeat is key. Like for me personally, for this to kind of become part of my scrapbooking process, one, I had to kind of really utilize my paper stash in a way. And so I was on repeat, right? I was working through my own paper stash and constantly evaluating it. It took a lot more energy for me because in that we were coming up with this formula. And so when I say energy, it's just like, I don't know, I have really become so key. If you sit down to scrapbook and you are just like, you think you're not feeling it, right? You're like, oh, I'm just not feeling it. Something's off. Honestly, I probably confidently can say 85% of the time, I'm going to put a number to it. It's the paper. The paper is what's throwing you off. Otherwise, it's just you needing to get started and actually, not overthinking and just push past it. But so there could be two variables. But if you're kind of in the middle and you're like, then sometimes that paper is the culprit. It's like a love-hate relationship, guys. We love our paper, but it can also bring us a lot of And I say that because I was just at a crop this weekend. Loved it, had so much fun, was great. I'm so excited. I'm going to Iowa here soon. Linda, we're going to hang out at Scott Mania, and that will be next weekend. So I'm getting a lot of that time this week in October. So fun. What I was going to say was I found myself, yes, and I have to kind of only remind myself, but I found myself scrapbooking this page, and I was like, oh, it's just not coming together. And here's the thing, I had to change my background sheet. Literally the moment I changed this background sheet. I wish I would have really shown a before and after. This is the page I ended up with, and I almost stopped. And it's probably becoming, I don't know, it's just such a fun page. I had so much fun, maybe because it really made me kind of just get into the spirit of the season and just kind of embrace that, and so much fun. We're going to go over this in the next event we have set up in October. I have a fun few more additional layouts to share with you guys. Lots of tricks and a lot of treats, I think, is what we're going to be doing in that next October event. So if you have an RSVP for it, then definitely head over there. But interestingly enough, I actually think I had that's right. I had it flipped. This is the yellow, and I had it, and like it's already glued down. I can't change it now at this point. But then I was sitting there and I'm like, oh, it's just not like, and I flipped it, and voila. It was like, I got that momentum again going. So repeat is something key, which is why I wanted to, we talk about the play to create system a lot. And I know that that's true for that too, is kind of that pull it out play. Really, that's the key in that method of designing method. And that method has changed my scrapbooking, has completely changed my scrapbooking from days where I used to stare at an empty page or, those things. But then as far as using up the paper at its full potential, this formula has really helped me with that. And like I said, there are some other guides with the pictures, that third one. So if there's something else that you notice that you're like, oh my gosh, I do struggle with this often outside of those three that I just mentioned, designing, paper picking, or pictures, let me know, because I will self-evaluate maybe how we can better help articulate some processes or methods that might help you in your own scrapbooking, because we really want, it's such a beautiful hobby, guys. Oh, love it. I mean, especially after this weekend, I'm just so much more convinced. I don't know if I could be any more convinced, but I am so much more convinced how beautiful of a hobby this is. And then just in the nature of connecting with other scrapbookers, but connecting with yourself and your future, your family and your past, and like it's just a beautiful package wrapped up in creative expression, and it's just awesome. So if there's a way that we can help you to make that experience more blissfully simple in a way that can break some blockage and get past some barriers, like let us know, because we want to help to do just that. So let's dive in, and we are going to break this one down. Another example, okay? Just another example, the best I can do from my paper stash, all right? And I want to point out the first thing that we talk about, here I'm going to take mine apart here, and we give it a glance. Paper picking tips at a glance. This right here is something that you could print and just keep handy. You know, it's a really condensed overview of this formula, and then yet when you go to the next pages here, it breaks down the formulas with a few examples, but that's exactly what we're going to do, is go over those examples. So it talks about a theme paper, which is the main paper, right? Starting with the theme paper. And again, why we recommend this is because we all have that eye candy paper that we kind of, well, we bought for a reason, most likely, right? And this really is the page that sets the theme, but not only the theme, right? But also what helps anchor the rest of your decisions. And so by picking that main pattern, it will help guide the next decisions when you pull in the other patterns that you're going to pick from your stash. So I have this really adorable pattern. Linda actually sent this to me. I think, I don't remember, Linda, if this was part of your stash. She sent me a package, and then in that package happened to be all these other random things. But I mean, it made me laugh. I was like, I'm pretty sure I didn't say he said that all to me. I said, I wanted this thing, and then I got this huge package. But it is beautiful paper. I'm not going to lie. It is so pretty. Let me show you this. But I'm looking, and I was like, okay, well, it came with, so this is just a single. It did come with these other little papers. But here's the thing. Every single one of these is a main pattern. Okay, again, evening light. I promise it's on my list. I asked my husband to help me with this light, but every time I go live, it's like, oh, I didn't get to it this month. I'll figure it out. But with that said, right? I don't even know. Linda probably didn't quite sure what she was going to do with this. So she's like, I don't know. Linda could speak for herself. But either way, beautiful paper, almost intimidating a little bit, tell you the truth, because of it's so beautiful. I mean, this one has like a beautiful glimmer on it, you know, and I know that that's manufacturing wise, that really increases that cost. So this sheet alone, you know, is just so pretty. Okay. And so what we're going to do, I would not recommend, these are all main patterns in my mind. I'm only going to take one of them. We'll dive through it together. And honestly, flamingo, I'm going to let you guys choose. So there's no really, it's just raw as can be. We have flamingo, 2 different butterflies, and these are one-sided. So this must have been a brand that's just one-sided, which I know you guys have in your stash. So this scenario, this situation, you will encounter yourself for sure. And these birds are so pretty. I wish the size was a little smaller, but again, you're probably going to see that with some of these older papers, maybe. Anyways, but beautiful. So what are we feeling? Flamingos, butterflies, or birds? Let me know. I'm kind of feeling the flamingo, but I did ask you guys, so I'm curious to see. And then I'm just gonna make this whole event about that. And I'm gonna do my best to kind of go with it. Oh, I don't know which one was the first or the second. All right, well, we have one butterfly, one birds. All right, some of you guys are just quiet. Are you guys sleeping on me? Come on, throw it out there. Let me know what you're feeling. Birds, 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 flamingo. Okay, thank you. We'll do birds. I'm seeing a little bit more birds. It's like, oh, okay, now we have birds, flamingo, birds, flamingo. Now we're doing like a half, every other one is that. Good thing is this color palette is very similar, right? So it's pretty similar as well in its approach. So yes. Okay, so I'm looking at this guide and I'm referencing the guide because I just want to reinforce this is like, I'm pulling straight from here and here, but here too, right? But starting with that theme, and you're going to focus on the colors. So we're going to now, once we have a sheet, we're going to focus in on the colors that we see in this pattern. Okay. So here we go. Okay. If you're uncertain, choose the pattern that you adore the most, right? Especially if it's in a collection like what we just did. Like we're like, half of us were drawn to the bird and half of us were drawn to the flamingo. And just kind of go with the one that you're most drawn to. And that will vary, for whatever it's worth, to individuals, as it should be, right? We're all different and different outlooks and different interests and different likes and all of that stuff. So that will be true. So if you're still unsure, of course, just kind of go with the flow. Okay, now we're going to go to our supporting pattern. Okay, remind you, this is all I have in this collection. This collection only consisted, or at least I think it's a collection. I think it was a collection or similar manufacturing. Again, I don't know who the manufacturer is, but it doesn't have it on printed, but it's really pretty paper. And I don't know, I think I need to go on a Hawaii trip now or something. But even if you don't know what pictures are your scrapbook, just going through and putting these paper kits together is one, super fulfilling because you can start seeing your paper stash have more of a purpose. And then when you are searching, for example, when you go to a crop and you barely prepped the week up to the crop or whatever if you have a moment to scrapbook, such a time saver in those scenarios as well to have some pre-kits already done, because then you can confidently grab these kits and know, okay, I don't have to take my whole kitchen sink, which I won't go too much in depth in my process in cropping, but it is funny how much I get teased at crops. That's all you brought, but I finished 10 pages, so yay. All right, so moving on. Supporting patterns, okay? So the supporting patterns, you really want to, again, focus on those colors, right? And you want to pick one that layers well with this main pattern. Here's the thing again. I'm pulling from my single sheets. I'm going to do my best. Can you guys still hear me when I turn? Here, let me scan down just a moment. So I keep my paper in these things. It's on my list. Honestly, I want to do a little bit more. I have some ideas on a different paper structure. But for me right now, this actually works. These cubicles and stuff like that works for me. I like that they're kind of hidden and not open. It kind of keeps the clutter down in my mind. But I have one that is for the way I store my paper is I have, if I don't have it put into a layout kit yet, I have it stored in certain collections. So all my collections I keep together because at least I have those, like Kiwi Club kits, for example. Those are already following the formula, so I don't really have to engineer anything else out of those. But I went for my more summer lines, my spring lines, like color palettes that are spring. I have one for more of my fall, which I have a lot in. I've noticed that I have a problem when it comes to fall paper. And then I have one more for Christmas, winter, that season. So far, that's kind of how I've subcategorized my own kits and paper stashes and things like that. But I have this other bucket here that is for miscellaneous. I'm still going through my miscellaneous. So even at the phase of the journey that I am in using this paper formula, I've used a lot of that paper stash. Look at IDIVIC number 1, number 2. That's where I like all of those pages really utilized a lot of my paper stash. And I know that Cheryl and Debbie felt the same way. But I have some miscellaneous in this one and this one as well. So I still have 2 of these buckets that are miscellaneous in that regards. So I was about to pull out, and then I thought, you know what, maybe I won't pull out too much, but I did pull out this one. It looks like I cut into it. This is an old My Mind's Eye from 2013. So in this case, it caught my attention again because of the color. Look how pretty that color in the green, and it's coming out. Now, this side, I don't like so much because, again, it's not the same collection. So that's not going to work. Okay. All right. So let me see. I could use that as a supporting because that's what we're talking about right now is supporting, right? I'm going to see if I can find. So again, think of this color palette. Even if you're like not going from mains to supporting to a blender to backgrounds, which is what those 5 sheets break down into. A lot of times, especially when I'm going through my miscellaneous or single sheets, I will start again really focusing on the color palette, and anything that I see in that color scheme, I'll start pulling out and putting to the side. Then I will condense that down and then, of course, put this kit. If you use these Totally Tiffany's, that works great. If you don't have these, put them in a bag. But then when I'm ready and settled with a page kit, a layout kit that I pull together from my miscellaneous papers, in this case, I'll put it in here. And then when I'm ready for a crop, I just have to be like, I have this paper, and what pictures do I possibly have? And then I print the pictures off, and that's a whole nother session. So we're not going to get too deep in that. Okay. So for example, here's a pink, right? Caught my attention. Here's the downfall again. Not going to be able to use the backside. That actually technically would be labeled as a main sheet. But this pink is good. If I needed this pink and it was from my paper stash, and you're thinking, yeah, but wouldn't you want to keep this for like a future, to be the jumping off start of a future another layout kit, because again, we start with our mains. That is something that you'll have to decide on yourself, and it's really cute. And I don't know yet because we haven't finished gathering, but I will tell you that no longer do I hold off what I think. If I have what I can make, work today with whatever I'm working on, then I end up putting that together. If I was putting this kit together at the same time, then maybe I'd be like, well, I'm accomplishing that too, so I'm accomplishing this. But if I can accomplish what my objective is with this sheet, then that's what it's going to serve. And I'm not going to worry too much about the next one. That's where I've kind of settled, because too much, I'm like, then you're like squirrel, 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 which I'm bad at anyway. So anytime I can refrain myself from doing that, the better, for sure. All right, guys, there's a lot of blue in here. Super, super pretty blues. And so those are other things that I'm going to look for. Do you also go for solids, or do you usually pick pattern papers? Lisa, I think early on, and I'm saying my journey because I mean, where I'm at is, some of you guys might not be too far behind me in my own paper journaling because you joined kiwilane early on and you've probably been implementing a lot of this in your own. But if you haven't and you're just kind of starting, then you might have, maybe 5 or so years behind me. But here's what's wonderful is like in another few years, you'll just be closer to where I'm at now and so forth. And so I guess what I was trying to get to answer your question, sorry, I forgot to turn off my buzzer to remind me to get those kids to go do their chores. um, Solids. Okay. Early on, I think I used more because I had them more on my stash, and we always have cardstock, right? Like cardstock is an essential. I think lately I have not enough of it. Like I couldn't even find black sheet of cardstock when I was going to the crop. I had to stop and get some, and I'm like, Susan, this is crazy. Because I don't tend to use it as much. At this point, I tend to really reach for blenders, and we're going to get to that here in a moment on that. Okay, and that's really where I try to reach for those things. Now, remind you, if it's what you have, then awesome. I've seen a lot of people use their solids for their backgrounds, right? And either one, that's literally what your style likes, or two, you're trying to, there's a few reasons that you could do it. One, it's what you like, and that's awesome. Two, you feel like you might be wasting this sheet because you think it's more decorative, so you don't want to use it as a background sheet. But yet, for me, that doesn't quite line up sometimes because the cardstock's not too far off price than some of these sheets of papers, right? So if that's your logic, which is fine too, or you don't quite have as many background sheets options based off of this formula, which honestly is an issue. I find it all the time when I start shopping out of my single sheets. Today, I have to start pulling some background sheets sometimes out of other collections. Remind you, if I find a need today, then I use it for the need today. And so I will do that. I do cringe a little when I do that because I know when I go to use that next kit, that collection or whatever, I'm going to be back at spinning my wheels. We want to create paper kits. I need to get in, paper is interesting for manufacturing. I want to create one that maybe we'll do a pre-sale on that is just literally blenders background options that can be used across a variety of kits. I do feel like, again, I can tell you this layout would have felt a little different. Again, the light's not too great. It has a blender here. It's like a little chevron, which almost give it like it levels up the design, in my opinion, than say like a plain white cardstock or a cream cardstock, right? And you might be thinking, oh, I don't really see it, but I promise in person you can. And so that's why I prefer those over solids. Again, personally, right? If you have other reasons where you're like style, interest, I just like it. It feels not as busy to me. It's what I have. All of that's awesome. But for me, I tend to not do many solids. Okay. Thank you. Oh, Julie. Yes, she keeps requesting. Julie, I heard you the first time and it's actually already on the docket. So you inspired me by your comment and I was like, I would love paper like that. Let's do it. So I remember the first time you mentioned it and I kind of slid that in there. So yes. Okay. So I'm going to keep digging for a moment. Talking about solids here. So here's a cardstock of that. It's slightly off. It just depends what you're going to do in that. So I guess I should tell you, I know this is a lot, but I promise if you follow the guide, and it's harder to do it live, but again, repeat is super important. And in the formula that we break down, we talk about when patterns are two-sided. If they're not two-sided, then you'll need more than the 5 sheets. And in this case, I have nothing on the back of this. And so for me, almost treating like one of these pinks, if I was just treating this as if this was designed this way, this was the front, this was the back. How great would that be, right? And so I know that's actually technically one sheet here for me, based off of the formula. I do have this other one that I would consider this to be, it would be a good supporting, actually really cute supporting. It has the 2 tones in there, and again, it does support it. It really helps that main pattern, and so that's the overall purpose of the supporting place of the supporting, is to layer this with your main pattern. This is why I'm holding it up this way, because when I'm looking at it, I'm just seeing, okay, do they compete? Do they like overwhelm you? And if so, then your style might be something a little bit more subtle, right? But I actually think that's really cute, and I don't typically would have, yeah, that's really cute. So sometimes what's fun about the single sheets, picking this whole mix and matching from your single sheets, is that you really do get a collective result, and it's completely unique to you, because your paper stash is going to be completely filled with things that are different from somebody else, right? Now, granted, I've used really old paper, and I smile every time, like if I post a layout that I like finally used some paper stash, and people are like, I have that paper, you know, because we're all holding on paper from like 2001 kind of thing, you know. So some paper we have similar, and of course with the Kiwi Club in and of itself, that's could be true. But the beauty of, if you're using that in the play to create method, I'm going to throw some out really fast. The moment you change that paper or just design, it looks different for everyone. So I will say, this is my single sheets or sheets that I've cut into that don't have a place or home. So see, some of these actually have been cut into. So I have this green section of cut into miscellaneous sections, which I also had that pink section. So let me go to my blue section here. Actually, it's the one on the floor. Hold on, let me see. Yeah. I was going to see what's on the back of this. Kind of like a script. I don't know if that's the vibe I want to go off of, but I'll put it down there for a moment. Okay, hold on. Let me pull out some blues. Okay, so I have this single sheet. Whoop, I got to wait for that camera to catch up sometimes. Boy, guys, this is a old My Mind's Eye. My Mind's Eye was my favorite paper line way back in the day. So, but I used a lot of it up. It's from 2008. Same thing though, because I'm doing, actually that looks really pretty. And this is kind of like a solid though, right? So again, if I have it in my stash, I'll totally pull it out, Lisa. The solids too. Has a little bit of a texture, not your typical cardstock, right? Let's see what this other side looks like. Actually, the colors are not bad. It would be more if you wanted to go that route from the pattern point. It feels like it's competing if I was going to use this for like a supporting. I feel like that competes personally. I'm going to pull it back to this so you can see that. That just seems, for my style, a little bit cleaner lines. But I want to show you the difference, because maybe you're like, no, I like the first one. That's okay, right? You're just looking to see what happens to your interest on the main pattern, because each one of those sheets changes that main pattern just a little bit, which will kind of change the result, the end result, right? When you actually transform these papers into a page. The same true about a background sheet. You pick a blue background, for example, right? Let's say I only have one of these. I want two probably with this cute paper, but let's say I was doing a one pager, and let's say that, okay, I'm jumping ahead a little, but let's say we did go supporting, again, main background, okay? And let's go ahead and throw in a little pink, okay? That we're like, we can pull the pink in from that too. Well, it's a really pretty, soft look there, right? So that could be really, really, really pretty. Let's say we wanted to flip that. Hold on, let me get my camera situated. Okay, so everyone can take a peek at that. But here's what I wanted to point out now that we're kind of going towards our background selection here. Sorry, I'm trying to get those layered. What happens if you threw a pink in there? Oh, I got rid of my main pattern. Hold on. Let me get rid of this light blue. See that pink? It just kind of shifted the overall vibe. So that background sheet often, honestly, is sometimes the #1 culprit. In my opinion, when something's not quite feeling like your vibe. Either way, this is a preference on your part, but if it's not quite hitting your preference, but you're like, but I love this sheet and I love this, like, why can't I get it to work, right? Sometimes the preference that maybe you chose for your background sheets the first time is not quite hitting the mark for you when you actually sit down to make a game plan on what to transform this kit into. So either one of those would have worked. They would have worked from a color palette, again, pulling these colors from the main, except for they just create a different mood and a kind of a tone, really. That's really what's shifting here, is that tone. So preference in that case, but this is exactly what I go through. There is no right or wrong, though. So if you're like really just sitting there, oh, I don't know, just go with one. Just go with one. You really can't right and wrong. Just know that when you actually, if you're sitting down to scrapbook one night and you find yourself feeling just a little extra off, right? And we're not talking tiredness off, just off, right? Not feeling the push forward or whatever, then just go through your stash one more time and see if you can select a different paper background. And then if that does the trick, then I just can tell you I've witnessed it so many times in my scrapbooking, that one little shift, and then I move forward. So, okay, let me just double check one more thing. I was looking and I'm thinking that there's, so any of these colors, like any of the contrast that you can pull out, this dark blue, this green, anything like that, that you can start mixing and matching with other patterns or papers that you might have in your stash, right? So I actually got a good selection. Again, really only going to be able to utilize one side of these. Like, you see that? This is actually from an old Kiwi Club kit. I just had this amount of left, I think. I loved that kit. It was super fun, but I don't think I would use that. I don't know. That one doesn't bother me as much, but this pink on the other side I actually really like. So sometimes I'll just throw in extra little miscellaneous sheets that I have into my, whether that's a bag or one of these collection keepers, just so when I scrapbook with that specific sheets, right, then I have it all kind of already gathered. And that's really what this is all about, mixing and matching and kind of going through and gathering. But then what can happen, again, I still have quite a few to go through. I'm gonna pull this sheet. It looks like I have a lot of little miscellaneous sheets in here. You'll start giving your order to your paper and structure to your paper. This is going to take time. This is why I have ones that I've already put together, which are already in these other buckets, and why I still have there's no game plan for these 2 buckets. So if I'm in need of creating more, then I will go through these. It's been a minute, which is why I said I hope to clean up some of these buckets soon, and I'll share that when I do. But my overall goal would be to go ahead and pull all those single main patterns together, all the, like I said, I have my greens together in here and my blues, just like I go over in the YouTube video on my single sheets. But it's not gonna, like, it will take you time to build kits. It will take you time. I'm trying to remember who it was in the community said she like spent like 5 hours one night and put together, I don't know, it was quite a few, like 50 kits, right? Like, but still, that was 5 hours, right? So it does, it's a time that is precious to you, that you'll have to sacrifice actually scrapbooking in order to build some kits. But then when you actually scrapbook, hopefully you have more of a, like I said, a game plan, but also something to pull on quickly in that case. Otherwise, what happens is instead of you maybe doing it in phases, I'm not saying that all of us have 5 hours, but you do get in the rhythm more. Your first kit might be a little bit more of a struggle. Your second one might be, but it's all about repeat, right? That's why we're going to do this together. And if we continue to do these events, then maybe next time you start, listening at the same time. You could watch and we can go through at the same time. You could pick your own papers out and be like, by the end of time of the event, you can have a few kits of your own together. But it does beat, I think, spending an hour before you scrapbook trying to think of the kit, and then you finally sit down and then you finally get to scrapbooking, right? So I'm always a big fan of separating what I refer to the analytical thinking versus the creative thinking, and putting kits together and doing this kind of formula is definitely more of the analytical decision-making part of our brain. And so I think it's great to do this separate than like the creative playing part, that more designing part. So, oh, Sherry, see, she says she would personally do a navy background. Okay, let me find and see if I can find a navy background. See, that's insightful. You're already seeing something that maybe you would like more of that contrast based off of your personal style. Oh, the blues are down here. So that's awesome. You might be able to pull on I only have like a little half sheet of cardstock in that. Like I said, I wouldn't do that. Like I wouldn't do a solid as a background personally, but I like it when I see it. It's not my personal thing. And I don't personally have one. I'm not seeing one, but that's a valid option. If you start, here's my takeaway from that comment. If you start seeing like, ooh, I wonder if I have a solid blue or something, then that gives you what to go hunting for. So I'm always a big fan of that. If you start to see like, ooh, I wonder if, then just go hunt for that and find it, and then move on to the next inspiration that you might have. I did have this other sheet. That's very pretty, actually. I mean, it's not going to work. It has like puzzles on the background, and it's not even a full sheet, but it's the color, at least, that I think that you're implying. Let's see what the cardstock would look like in this manner. Not quite the right blue, personally. The other one was a little bit more of a grayer blue. This one's a little bit more of a navy blue. So see how that just slight change. This is a good example, actually. That slight change in that blue can also, the same color but different shades, can also shift the mood and the tone on your page. So again, sometimes you're like, yeah, but the blues, like this blue, which I guess you could say is like these little things, it's kind of hard to tell if it's like a gray or a navy blue. It looks like, that's why I think the more navy gray blue actually does work, because that's what I'm seeing, at least in that pattern. But again, this is a good example. That background really plays off the rest, even though I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, but aren't you covering it? Like your pictures cover most of it, which is true, but it still is like the stage, right? Like it is the stage that everything else is going on. And that stage is going to be the thing that will set the stage for the rest of the stuff. So you still see it unless you're literally going from space to space, space, space by covering it, but that's never really the case. So yeah, so even a shade can make a difference. Like I said, though, some pages, you know, might hit the mark better, and awesome, because you know, you might have a blue, this is all you have in your stash, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to use it because it's in my stash. Not end of the world, not end of the world. I'm just showing an example. If you do happen to have both, right? If you did happen to have both, then you might just want to take a peek at that and adjust it. So, all right. Okay, I think I kept you guys long enough. Lots of examples there. Hopefully it was, again, a repeat, rinse, repeat. Ultimately, here's what I'm breaking this down to, okay? Main pattern. Because our formula says if it's not double-sided, you'll need another sheet. So I'm gonna count that as my background, okay? Then I'm going to count this as my supporting, and then I'm going to count this. Here's something else I will throw out there. The main pattern, supporting pattern, and the blender matting extra patterns, optional, that the formula breaks down to in this guide, and then the other two sheets are your background sheets. These three sheets, well, at least your main pattern, supporting pattern, technically only really need to equal about a half of a sheet. Like this bird pattern, for example, I'm not going to use most likely majority of the time, unless you really wanted that to be a big staple point of maybe a big placemat or something like that design on your page, right? But then you would cover a lot of the birds. That's why I always opt into the main patterns being the borders or something, because then that main pattern becomes to the front, so to speak. But really, I've noticed that I only need like half sheets for layouts. So if you find yourself like you're thinking, is this enough? Like, is this enough, right? It's not quite half a sheet, like it's missing this part right here, right? But other than that, I think I could do a nice little cute flower or something with that. So those are the two that I'm kind of placeholding there. This one, I'm gonna actually equate that to my extra sheet. And then for my backgrounds, hold on, I have a few two-sided. I like my patterns to be, I like to plan for 2-pagers, is what I was gonna say. If I was planning for a 1-pager, this might work, but I only have one of those. But I do have, I pulled this from another club kit, which is why we need to come up with some. It's kind of a lighter green, and I have 2 of those. So, nope, this is what we want. This is harder than it looks. I usually do this either on the floor or I do this on my table, but not the best light, guys, but you get the idea. So main pattern, supporting pattern, some blenders or 2-tones need to be thrown in the mix, or solids if you have them. Really, whatever's in your stash. For whatever it's worth, if it piques your interest and you have it in your stash, then go for it, okay? And then our backgrounds there. And this background, you can see, let me see if I can get it to see, again, has the blender effect, which is like a light pattern on it. And I like those. But from your old stash, you might not find a lot of those. Those are definitely something that we were like, we need more of those. And that's why I feel like we do need to just produce a kit that is just blenders, because I really hate pulling from other miscellaneous kits to fill a hole. But again, if you have a need, feel the need. Just fill it and then take care of the next one when you get to that point. So let me just double check, see if I have any questions. I love the layout you're showing. Awesome. Yes, now I'm ready to put it into a kit, and then maybe I'll take it with me to this upcoming crop and I will scrapbook it. I don't know what pictures I would do with it. I need to take a vacay, I think. But a vacay will come down the line. I'm sure of it, because there's, you know, this paper caught my eye for a reason. It's beautiful. Honestly, I say vacay just because of the colors of it. It feels very tropical to me, but it has birds on it. This could be really cute wedding page. It could be a cute baby blessing or something like that page. It has kind of that tone to me, that softness to it. So naturally, it's whatever pictures I end up doing, pairing it with. So, sorry, I was there with no internet. Oh, Sherry, I'm so sorry. Dang. Hopefully soon. I know my daughter, and I'm not sure where you are, Sherry. Where are you located? Well, we had a lot of people from our church just head down. Daughter went with them and stuff. I had this other event on my calendar already months ago, but anyways, so hopefully more help is coming. More help is coming, I'm hoping. Get you back up and running slowly but surely. All right, I think I covered all of the questions. Do you a book for each of your kids? Oh, Tonya. No, I do not do. When I first started to scrapbooking, I definitely fell into kind of that, I don't know, can you call it a tradition? I don't know what it is. Either ways, that method, that way approach, it's an approach to scrapbooking. And I started to realize, like, this is where I think of my scrapbooking, where I've come to now, which was a slow process to get to where I'm now. I absolutely scrapbooked the first year of my kids. So like their baby phase, right? And they have their own baby book. And then I also scrapbook pages for my family books. Then from there, I did like milestones. So like their kindergarten graduation, or like if they did like a sports team, or like little things that they found interest in, or things. But when it came to scrapbooking, say, for example, our family vacation, our family pictures, any of those kind of like memories, those just all went into the family scrapbooks. Really, they're my scrapbooks. I've made it very clear, like, these are mine. I do them for me, and I love them. And I'm looking at them on the shelf over there. And you know what? When I pass away, they can either choose to disperse them between all of the kids, and maybe I'll leave it in my will. You get, I don't know, right? When I get to that phase. But you know what? None of us are promised tomorrow. So anyways, they're mine. They bring me joy. If, for whatever it's worth, if nobody wants them, because I've heard a lot of people get scared of them, and this is just how I look at it, I'm not going to worry about that. I just know that right now, this has brought me so much joy, and scrapbooking brings a lot of joy. And so because of that, like, it's, for me, it's worth doing, it's worth sharing, it's worth all of that. And so that was a little bit more added on to your question. But to answer your question, I definitely did initially when they were younger, but now, like I said, I'll do like milestones. So like a prom, Lacey did a prom. I did do another page for her prom, but outside of that, everything kind of goes into a family album. So I think I slowly had to kind of learn that rhythm for myself, though, that approach. So, yeah. All right. Oh, Brenda was asking how you store your kits. So I store my kits, and I've shared this before. Well, like my club kits, I just have. So like if I didn't finish a whole club kit, those I keep together because I know confidently it follows the formula, and so I don't pull those apart clearly. But when I like, for example, this kit that we just put together from our single sheets of our mix and matching Monday single sheets here, right? Then yes, at this point, I would take this bundle and honestly, I just kept mine in for the longest time, these 12 by 12 bags, whether that's like you keep the like bags like this that came with other packaging, the paper packaging, and I would just throw it back in here. I would just throw this back in here. Or I buy them on Amazon, the little 12 by 12 bags. Well, more 13 by 13 bags. I'll post that link back in the community. I can't find it right now. When I initially started, I bought those. I need to buy a few more because I feel like I want to clean up these 2 buckets of single sheets. I'm having that itch to do that. So I'm going to order some anyways, and I'll make sure to share that link again up in the thing. But we have kind of it's just on Amazon is where I got them. Or you can get the Totally Tiffany collection keepers, which are awesome because if you do choose to then also just put together maybe some stickers or other elements, you could put those in these other pockets. So basically a bag. Or one other option, a page protector. If you don't want to go spend more money and you don't want to go buy more bags, or you don't, the bags that were the packaging ripped or whatever, you can use a page protector. For the most part, I think there's been a few page protectors over time that were like, oh, I got it dirty. And so I just always used it for paper kits. Like I never transferred it to my albums to actually hold finished pages. But that's not a lot. Like I don't feel like I've ruined enough. So oftentimes I'll store my paper kits that I put together in my page protectors, and I'll still use my page protectors to put my finished pages in to put into my albums. So it kind of doubles up in its duty there and its purpose. So, and then Christine asked, are you doing a class on template storage with the new tags? Yes. In the new year, when they come, I have it all. We're outlining events, we're outlining spreadsheets, we're outlining all like lots of little guides and documents to help all of the different, we'll have visual learning, we'll have all of the learning types, I guess what you could say. So yes, that is going to be a big goal, huge desire. So plan on it. We will get past the holiday season for that specific project, but just plan on when those pre-sales items come in, which it should be, I think it's going to be, well, who knows? Let's cross our fingers. I think it will probably be more mid to end January, but you never know. But end of January, let's just say, we will start throwing up. The moment we have an ETA on that arrival, I will be throwing up some events that everybody can RSVP for. So, all right. Okay, guys. I think that's most. Well, I love all the questions, actually. I really love the questions. So don't be afraid to ask questions in the community at any point. You don't have to just wait for events. But you guys let me know what you think. I'll put a survey up on this mix and match routine one. I know it's something we've shared before, but it just deserves to be repeated because it was, it literally did change the way I scrapbooked. So it really helped me tremendously. But I do remember when I was in that first phase of it, when trying to learn the technique of it and what is what and patterns and how to mix them and match them. I remember feeling like in the trenches. So some of you guys might still feel that way, and I can only tell you the way to get out of it and just kind of feel a little bit more comfortable and more confident with your paper selecting and mixing and matching patterns and mixing and matching all of that stuff, is to repeat. Just constantly repeat. That's the way to do it. So, all right, guys, appreciate it. And we will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.